Where is that? Yeah. Pardon?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
You are on mute here.
Okay, yeah, it's working.
Okay.
Now you can talk to the mic. The mic has my
Yeah.
account, and my account now has some sound.
Okay, so we just need to,
Now to see, make this one larger.
yeah. So
Okay.
just
So now it's still small letters, but maybe readable. Yeah. Okay. Sorry for this technical problems, but we'll continue with the presentation. I was busy to create a state machine, and I want to have another field, so the name of the state machine. So now you can see default, and here on the bottom left, that's where we do the code generation. It's kind of a simple way of just using tokens and then some kind of replacement, so we can pick the field and it will attach, and we're going to select that name. So now you see default. So okay, let's go back to 1, and we're going to prevent make the door. So that's the name of the state machine. Okay, now we need some states. Let's just make a copy of that one. And now we just have a copy. We go to the state machine. It also has some kind of name. Let's make that one. State name, state. And then you figure out, oh, damn, I forgot to give it a real name. It's block type now, but this one is my my machine. And what you can see is that it will rename at all the different places at the same time. So you don't have to keep everything. Everything will stay consistent. And this will be state. Just distinguish the colors a bit. So now we have this one, but this one cannot really be connected. So we have to select the top connections, and now we can see we can make a state. We have a state machine with one state inside. Let's duplicate the state, the open, close. Okay, so we already have the state machine and a couple of states. For now, let's remove this one. And what you can say, okay, this is the code generation for my state machine. Let's do a little bit of curly brackets. Duplicate. And then inside, what we can do is to just render all the statements that are inside. So there are the names here. Okay, names is maybe not a good one, so let's select it here, and then it will just select the blocks that you're working on. Maybe a cleanup so that it's not on top of each other. But here we can do states, because that's a better name. So now we already are working very iteratively, finding out every time what is wrong. Now, maybe the last thing that we need is some kind of event. And the event doesn't have statements. It just will say event. Event. Some kind of event. Duplicate that one. On 2. And then we can go the 2. So now you can go to and say, okay, we can do close. So now we already have quite a lot of the things. Let's see if we can make the code generation for events. Here we'll add the statements. And here we'll add some logic for our code. So here we'll go from event and then to and you see, okay, it starts to appear. So if we do this one, you get immediate feedback what's wrong. So, okay, new line will be nice. We duplicate another event. And we see that we're getting pretty close. After the door, we want to have some new line probably here. So, okay, we're getting pretty close. So in this way, you can very interactively and fast make a DSL. What you could do now is save it to disk, and yeah, and you will have a totally working state machine. Just all these files are generated, and what you see is exactly the state machine that we just created with the code generation. So in that way, within those 10 minutes, it's a little bit of clicking, but we have a total. We went from a DSL that didn't exist towards creating a DSL, and there is quite some other options that will make it easy to create the DSL for your exact thing. Okay, so these are a couple of the screenshots that I made. Here are a couple of examples where we extended it a little bit and say, okay, we created DSL, but we also make some kind of visualization out of it. So on at the back, you see a thing that makes state machines and does some rendering using an existing JavaScript library to render. And as you can see, it's here's the live version. These things can also be live updated. So now we see a couple of those sequences being added. So in this way, you can make editors and at the same time show all the text as we see here below, or even render that text in some kind of visualization and make that available. Another one is, and you can check it out later. This is, and also in the paper there is a couple of examples. Yeah, as I showed you, this is live. This is available on an internal website for now. We'll get it soon to blocklybench.dev. It's also available on GitHub, so you can have a look at all the code. And below you will find a couple of the links to editors that are here. And yeah, my name and email address if you want to reach out. So this is a nice place. It's been used to create about 25 different editors, now by 4 persons. So not widely used, but I'm welcoming you. I saw quite a lot of people creating Blockly DSLs also in the previous talks to start using this one. We're thinking to extend it to the need and have maybe validators, mutators, movable, that kind of properties. That should be an easy extension. Also the packaging. Now we package it to a standalone website. You saw that I just clicked the HTML page, so it's not even hosted. It is totally in the browser. But you could also maybe bring this one to VS Code. Things like localization, or maybe what we see as an extension point to start off with Coggy, with your existing DSL description. With Coggy, you make your first attempt of your blocks, or with Coggy, and then fine tune your blocks to of the things. And then this is a stepping stone for things that we want to say, okay, how are we going to use block-based DSLs in engineering? And what are the real properties why these kind of blocks are used, but not so much used in professional setting? So maybe we want to do something with parsing with blocks or diffing and merging, maybe large. We discussed yesterday with some of the persons about larger program. How are you going to support that? Maybe collaborative blended editing, that the software engineers can stay to the text and the other engineers can go to the blocks. Maybe we have to think about evolving of DSLs. Basically, you're embarking on a lot of the properties that maybe other language workbenches are a lot more mature on. Yeah, so that's that's the question. Will the next time that you are going to use are going to expose your DSLs to non-software, are you going to force them to use the text editor, or are you just going to give them a DSL that's a lot easier? So that's what I want to leave the public. And I think there is some room for questions. Yes.
I have a couple of questions. So the first one is maybe a little bit very evident to me because I use NPS a lot.
Yeah.
And, maybe you already know the questions that are going on. So when you mention things like live updation of notations and this kind of implementing these other code generators, I was just looking at the paper. I haven't read it completely. I would have liked to see an actual comparison with NPS because, for example, the state machine language, right? It's kind of like the basic.
That's always the basic example.
Exactly.
That's what I could do in the course, of course.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so it's not extremely clear to me. Yes, this is very specific to block-based languages, but I can imagine that you can take a system like NPS, build a block-based meta language where you can implement this, and you also maybe get more access to, for example, constraint checks, right? If you're building a state machine language, you would want to ensure that, for example, there is only one initial state or things like this, right? So, so in general, my question is, was there a reason there was no more intensive comparison with NPS because we are talking about graphical languages?
Yeah, so NPS hasn't been extensively within this core or within this paper, and you also don't see the comparison. I think we did some. We got this review remark also from one of the reviewers and say, okay, did a comparison. And my first thing is that of course NPS is a lot more complete. But there is 2 or 3 things that I think that are in favor of block-based and this kind of editors. One of them is, if I look at the example of NPS, they say, okay, here is an example. You're going to create also something like this, but then a telephone book, and please take and it has been done in a month. So a month and this 10 minutes. Okay, there seems to be some kind of difference. Of course, it's less complete. The other thing is, don't forget that these block-based languages have been taught by the millions by now. So there is 50 million users of Scratch. There is 40 million users of App Inventor and that kind of things. So we already taught a lot of people the basic things of these blocks. And I think we should go to the place where the people are instead of forcing them to use a projectional editor. That's kind of, so that are the 2 things that and of course it's not a perfect comparison, but yeah.
The other questions is your more basic question. I'm trying to understand the components of the editor. On the left top, you have meta.
Yeah, that's your meta. Yeah.
And here at the bottom, you have the instances.
These are the code generators.
These are the code generators.
And this is the menu.
So there's the code.
And here you see also something like you can make drop downs. So there is some kind of extension. So for example, if you want, you can have a reference to one of the other things here. I didn't create it just now, but
Okay.
yeah. So there is some kind of things where you can help. So you cannot type anything there. You have to have a drop down. So that's the kind of language, the things that you can do with blocks that make it easier, or to have some kind of tooltip also, or some kind of help included. Yes.
While switching over, maybe one last question.
So one really quick question. So one nice feature of blocks is that you relatively easily find there's a lot of different target languages, like you can generate code. Or let's say like your example, you have like PHP, but you could also generate some other like output. I saw that it looks like you already have some support for that you can sort of run it generated.
Yeah. So it's a matter of changing this one, and then you have another generator, and you can switch your generators here if you have multiple.
But you need to be able to see it.
Yeah, so yeah, I didn't make all of them, but that's basically what you do. I have a little language here. It's called basic language. You can load it here, and that has a generator for YAML as well as for JSON. So it's perfectly possible to have multiple languages supported.
One other thing that I saw while you were doing the demos, it looked like you could actually in that, like in the right or the top right of the preview editor kind of
Yeah.
That you right click, then you're actually able to create like a new block in the meta interface.
Yeah.
I found that interesting that you basically from within the preview in a sense you can also actually,
Yeah, that's tend of what you want to do. You want to say, okay, I need something more like this.
I just found it interesting because that seems to be something that is not really possible if you would have this text space sort of instead of like using the block. There you would.
Yeah, also the renaming that I did on the block name, all that kind of things. It's
So, sorry guys.
Yeah, no problem.
We have to take the rest offline.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
no problem.
Stop share.